And we're live. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on what side of the coast you're on. Facebook Success Team, it's nice to see you guys again. We have a new guest to AMA today. We want to welcome Alex to our community. Hi, Alex. Nice of you to join us this morning.
Hey, thank you for having me.
And as always, we have Ryan joining us as well. Thank you for joining us, Ryan. You're always here to share your quick tips and feedback with us. We appreciate you being here as well.
Happy to be
Alex?
here as always.
Alex, thank you for joining us. Why don't you've been with the team? What, 3, 4 months now? You've been with us. It's nice of you to be here. Do you want to share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I live in Orlando, Florida. I actually went to high school with Ryan, and we circled back after long careers of different sales places, and now we're working together. Um, and now I'm joining the team 4 months in. I've learned a whole bunch about what it takes to make Revaluate successful.
Awesome. I wanted to ask you, Alex is doing a lot of calls for us, and that is the topic today. We're going to be talking about calling very likely movers and call scripting. We've had a lot of requests to kind of go back around this. We're going to talk about mindset. We're going to talk about a lot of things to do with calling, but Alex is actually making a lot of calls for our team. That's kind of his primary role at this time. So I thought it'd be great to have you talk about a little bit. What is your best advice for anybody that's making calls, Alex? And that can be based on somebody calling their database or the calls that you're doing. What's some advice that you have to share?
So I think the biggest takeaway I've gotten in the past couple of months working with Ryan, and what's really important to just get through the phone is having the right kind of confidence. At the end of the day, if you sound like you belong in the conversation and you sound like you want to be there and you believe in the product, the other side, the other person on the phone will feed off that energy and will be able to have a good conversation. So one of the things I constantly work with Ryan is building up that confidence and knowing, sounding strong, and just have fun with it, but also just portray that information that you believe in your product and you believe in yourself. I think that's the best way to start. And if you can think of that every day, you're going to be successful.
Awesome. So then just repetition, I assume, practice, practice, practice. If you're not comfortable, yeah.
Yes. Get uncomfortable, listen to yourself, but just portray, put yourself out there.
Awesome. And Ryan, let's transition a little bit and talk about mindset for those very likely movers. I think that's probably one of the most important parts, is really getting the right mindset around calling these very likely movers. We talked about that before, but why don't we recap that today at the top of the call here?
Yeah. A couple of things. Number one, I think everything Alex just said plays into that part of the conversation too. Like your mindset when
Absolutely.
you're calling a homeowner as a real estate agent or an ISA or whoever's doing the calls for our clients. The cool thing that you guys have that is that you are your product, right? Like at some level, you and everything that you put out on the table with your business is your product. And so obviously you have to be confident in that. You have to believe in yourself, believe in your product when you're calling people, and that will portray. Now, the second part of that though is confidence in why you're calling. And that's really the role that Revaluate plays for a lot of our clients, is knowing that you're calling the right people. The first question that we get asked when we're speaking with a new client or a new prospect, someone who's interested in finding out more about what we do, is, okay, great, that all sounds awesome, but then what? Or like, what do I say? What's the script? What's the messaging that I send out to the very likely movers when I make the call? And one of the things I've been really talking to a lot of people about lately is understanding that a very likely mover is not a lead type. It's not really even a stage. It's a timeline. And so it's a flag, it's a trigger, it's a nudge, it's a reason to reach out. But your scripting, your dialogue, your messaging, your marketing, whatever your outreach technique and effort is going to be more based around however you would normally reach out to somebody who came from that place and hasn't been spoken to in that period of time. It's all about lead source, contact source, and length of time since you spoke to them. So can you script it? Of course. I mean, you can script anything, and you can have variable degrees of success with any reasonable script. But the mindset is really that this is someone who, based on their data, is going to be winding up in someone's lead gen lead capture form sometime in the very near future. And you want to make sure that rather than having them, since you know them and you have them in your database, they work with you rather than ending up in one of your competitors' databases. Keep the people in your database. And so, yeah, reaching out with the confidence that they're going to raise their hand soon. And your goal is to stay in the room so that when they raise their hand, you're the obvious choice to work with.
Perfect. Now, I know you said we can create a script and you'll have varying levels of success, but we have put together a script and some people have utilized that. Some people haven't. Some people go off the cuff and use their own thing. But I did put that in the title up here. So if you guys are viewing it, you should be able to click the link and view our script. Everybody that's a customer has access to that. And it's really just a compilation of everything that we've heard from other customers, what's worked, what hasn't worked. And it's very generic. And it kind of leans really into that farm. So calling somebody that you don't know and what do you say to them? So what we're going to do now is I'm going to leave the screen here for a second, and Ryan is going to be the realtor and Alex is going to be the homeowner. And we're just going to do a real quick live role play, just utilizing that script and just a generic call of what that might look or sound like. So don't assume this is exactly what they're going to say. What Alex says is exactly what the person on the phone is going to say, right? They're going to say something different every time. But this is just an example to kind of get your feet wet and get them an idea of how to utilize those scores and that scripting. So I'm going to go off the screen here, but I'll be right here if you guys need me. And Ryan, I'm going to let you kind of kick this off.
Cool. Yeah, I think to Katrina's point, this is a script that's designed for that have not met sector, the people that you're doing cold calling or farming, and they popped a very likely mover score of above an 80. So you've never met them, you don't know them, you've never engaged with them. How do you communicate with those people? And that was the purpose behind when we originally put it together, was making sure that we provide some sort of guidance for people who just don't have the experience of making the calls to people they've never had a conversation with. In a lot of ways, this script is very similar to what you would definitely already have probably in like your very getting started packet from your broker that for circle prospecting or just listed, just sold, or even just farming. But the difference is the mindset and the attitude going into the call, because you know that this is someone whose data is showing that something's going on, right? So the goal is always, of course, to get a listing. That's what, that's how you drive the business. But the check down is to have a dialogue, to engage with the person and find out really what it is that made them flag in our system. Like something's going on that made them go above an 80. So how to engage in the right format, to ask the right questions, to get the insight to set the table for nurture and follow up if they don't bite right now. All that being said, I haven't read this script in a long time, and I'm a little rusty. I haven't done like calling B to C ISA stuff in a long time, so forgive me if it sounds a little rusty when we go through this. But Alex, the fact of the matter is you can really just be yourself, because you own a home and you've sold your home in the past and you live in a neighborhood. And so your reactions can all be as organic as you want them to be if I called you out of the blue, and we'll just kind of run it from there. Mistakes and all, as they say. Warts and all.
Sounds good.
All right, so I'm calling Alex. He is a homeowner in my farm. He has gone above an 80. I got an email from the system or it pushed into my CRM, and I said, oh, I better pick up the phone and make a call to Alex while I'm doing my dials for the day. So, Katrina, by the way, you're not muted. I can still hear you turning papers, just so you know. All right. Ring, ring, ring.
Hello.
Hello. Is Alex Cortez, please?
Yep, that's me. How can I help you?
Hey, Alex. My name is Ryan Dendevel. I'm with Ryan's team, and I'm calling neighbors of the home at 123 Main Street. Are you familiar with that house?
Yeah, I drive by it every day.
You drive by it every day? Great. So we're calling neighbors because that home actually just sold for like $20,000 over asking price with no inspection. We have a lot of buyers who missed out on that house and are actively looking in your neighborhood. Would you, if the price was right, if you got the right offer, would you be interested in capitalizing on this seller's market that's going on, or do you know any neighbors who might be?
Yeah, you know what's odd? I was thinking, I saw the house for sale, and I don't know. I just found out that I'm having another kid, and we were talking, me and my wife, like, what if we sold this house? So we were sort of kind of considering it, maybe.
So you just had another kid. Congratulations. Is this number one, two, three? Where does that fall for you in the birthing order?
That's number two.
Number two, congratulations. So you got two kids in the house now. It's not as big as it was when you and the wife bought it, probably prior to number one, if I had to guess, knowing that neighborhood. Um, if you were to be making a move, would you be interested in staying local? Like, do you have family around, or would you be making a big move out of it?
No, yeah, that's the thing. We want to stay in this neighborhood, or at least close to it. Yeah, we have family around, so if we do decide to make a move, we're going to be looking around close by. I like the schools.
So you like the school, your soon or your recently oldest kid is, in the right district for you. In an ideal scenario, you'd be looking to upsize from what I'm hearing. So you need a little more room, but you want to stay in the neighborhood. Am I hearing you correctly?
Yeah, that's the reason we're thinking about it. We just need more space.
Well, Alex, I don't know if you pay attention to the real estate market much. It is kind of, I know that before I was in the business, I had no idea what was going on the day to day, but things have been kind of chaotic the last couple of years, and there is still a really strong seller's market going on. However, it's softened a little bit in the recent months to where it's not out of the question to find a new home at the same time. I tell you what, here's what I'd like to do. If you guys would be open to it, I'd like to stop by and just have a quick conversation about, take a look at the home, see what, it would look like, what price you'd be able to get for the home in its current condition. And if it makes sense, we could find you a new place. That'd be something you'd be open to, right?
Yeah, I think so because we have questions. If we do decide to move, there are things that we would need to have in the new home to be able to make that move. So I think it would be good to have a conversation. So yeah, I think you should, if you can, yeah, come by.
I forgot to ask how long you said recently. How old is the newest addition to the family?
He's 3 months old.
3 months old. Okay, so you're not sleeping at all anyway. So pretty much any time of the day or night, you're going to be available to have a conversation. But for me personally, I'm looking at my calendar, and I'm going to be in the neighborhood later this afternoon around 3, unless you think mornings are better, like tomorrow around 9.
To be honest, tomorrow at 9 would be better for us. If you could, yeah, today is not going to work.
All right, so here's what I'll do is I'll send you over a calendar invite for tomorrow at 9, because I don't know about you, but if it's not in my calendar, it's definitely not going to happen. And I'm going to come by. I'll have a presentation. I'll show you a couple of options of what's out there on the market today. See, take a look at the house, kind of give you a quick valuation of what you might be able to get in the current market. And hey, if it makes sense, great. If not, you have some information and we can keep in touch. Sound fair?
That sounds good. Thank you, Ryan.
Excellent. All right. So I gave up on the script after a minute and just went to autopilot because but the point of that whole conversation that I really want to highlight for anyone who is paying attention to this, and comment on here if you agree or disagree with what I'm about to say. As salespeople, our number one mistake that we make when communicating with prospects, whether it's a business prospect or a homeowner prospect, is that we assume that money is the most important thing for everyone because that's the most important thing to us. For your typical homeowner, they are not just thinking about money. Now, when you're cold calling, you hit them with the market thing and hit them with the money thing out of the gate because that's the hook that gets their attention. But for Alex, it was, hey, I just had a kid and I'm talking to my wife, and this house is smaller than we thought it was when we bought it. Rather than harping on getting the most, I never brought money up again once I heard that, because for Alex's character, at least in that conversation, it was about the family and making sure that his family was in a bigger home in the same area. And we shock potential sellers and buyers out of interest by beating them over the head with how much money they'll get and how fast it'll turn and all that stuff. He's not ready to move tomorrow. He's not ready to have to spend $100,000 extra on the next house after making $100,000 on this one. But what he is interested in is hearing about what the opportunity might be for his family to be in a more comfortable home. And the best thing your ISA or you can do when making calls to homeowners is to listen to what they're telling you in such that money's not everything to everyone. And the reason they're not in sales is because there's a good chance money's not everything to most of the people that we're going to call. Otherwise, they'd be in sales jobs. They'd be your competition. So that was the life event. He gave it up a little easy in the beginning, but then we were able to dive into it and have a conversation that led to a meeting because it was all about his family and what their needs were, not just about how great I am or all the great things I can do or how much I can sell their house for. Uh, that's the key to calling very likely movers. If I could give you one nugget to take away from this, is active listening is key, because these are not people who asked for you to call them. They're people who you're calling because they need you to call them, but they need you to hear them and they need you to understand what's going on in their life. And that will make you so much money if you can internalize that and take a question-based approach that doesn't just focus on how great you are or how great or difficult the market is, but really talk to them about their goals and needs. I don't think we need to do anything else, Katrina. I think that was a showstopper right there.
That was a showstopper. I think that was a mic dropper, but I did have one question from chat. Keep you on your toes here. They said, sometimes when you're calling a farm, you'll be monitoring an email address and the name will be for the wife, but it's listed as Alex, but it's really Alex's wife that's attached to the email, their phone number. So when you call them and you say, hey, this is Alex, they say no. Do you have any advice on how to work around that?
If you call and it's the spouse's name, but the name, it's the opposite person's phone number, you're saying? So like you're calling and that person's not there. My check down is always, okay. So most of the time when you run into that scenario, there's a clue in the email address, frankly, and you'll be like, oh, that name looks like a woman's name and this is a man's name, or vice versa, not making assumptions, but just like, so if you have any of those clues, pivot to, oh, is this so-and-so, and try that, because the worst thing you can do is ever get caught in a dead stop on a sales call. Alex and I were just talking about this, honestly, on our morning meeting this morning. I used to train outbound call center people for a company, like a fast food sales environment where we were just order takers. You got one shot at everybody, and that was all it was. And we used to equate inbound versus outbound to minnows versus sharks. And sharks, for anybody who knows Shark Week was like a week ago, so this is very timely. Sharks are always swimming, always moving, because if a shark stops swimming, it suffocates and dies. The water goes across their gills. That's how they breathe. They have to always be moving. And in a sales call, that is your mindset, is to always keep the conversation moving. Silence kills calls. So if they say they're not here, you need to have a quick canned response that deflects, because frankly, here's the bottom line. You don't care about the name. You care about the email, because that's where that score came from. So if that email is that person's, you're still talking to the right person. It's okay. So the check down is, if you have a name, check down to that. If you don't have a name, check down to the address and be like, oh, well, are you the owner at such and such address? And if they say no to that, then you say, okay, well, you can always have a third check down. Well, do you live in the neighborhood, or am I just completely off base? That's what I used to say. Well, do I have the neighbor, or am I just completely lost in left field here? And usually then they'll be like, no, I don't even know what you're talking about. And your point is to get them talking. The point is not to get to whoever the name is. The point is to get that person on the other end of the phone talking, because again, the wrong number is an opportunity all the time. If it's the right message and the right timing, then who cares about the name of the person? So don't be too rigid on what you're looking at. Is the point. After all that rambling, the point is, have a check down or two that is soft and can get people to open up and chat with you a little bit, like kind of, own it a little bit. Be like, oh man, I'm sorry, I must have the wrong number. Well, do you live in that neighborhood, or am I just calling the complete wrong area? That'll get them to laugh a little bit. There's nothing wrong with calling the wrong number. People do it all day, every day. I must field at least 15 wrong numbers to my phone every day. It's how you respond to the information that gets you on or off the rest of the call.
Awesome. Well, we love to come back and review and see how things are going. So Alex, maybe we'll check in with you in a few months and see how calls are going for you. And we'd love to hear from the audience. So if you guys have any scripts or anything that's working for you, comment below. And we will be back next week, but we're going to be live from the Revaluate site. AgentDominator.com is a new partner of ours, and we've been working with Beatty Carmichael, and we are very excited to have him join us next week. But we're going to be from the Revaluate site, but we're going to stream here as well. So if you guys have any live questions for him, you have anything you want to ask, comment below, or you can always email us at support@revaluate.com, and we'd love to answer any questions that you have. So we will be back next week. Thank you for anybody that joined us. If you're watching this after, you can still comment, and we will always monitor this group and come back and respond. Thank you for joining us this morning, guys, and we will be back next week. Thank you all, and have a wonderful rest of your week. Till next time. Bye, guys.